Can you hear me okay? Yes? Wonderful, wonderful. Okay. Mm. So today, I want to talk about inner ethics with regard to our meditation practice. We don't often think about our meditation practice when we think about ethics. Most of the time, when we think about ethics, we think about out here. How are we relating out there in the world to other people? But in the practice of mindfulness, it's to others as to myself as to others. So, how are we relating in here when we take our seat? It's important that we begin to investigate that. And I say take our seat, but there is an art to this practice of meditating. I think of like a three-step process, you could say. There is the before we meditate, the preliminary, which is about opening up our bodies and making room inside, setting the stage in that way. Uh, Letting go of our outer thoughts, just tuning in right here to the present moment. That's number one, preliminary. The second step is actually taking our seat. Once we've opened up through movement and breath, we take our seat and we come into a relatively still posture. And that could be sitting, standing, or lying down, right? A still posture. And how we take our seat is also we're invited to consider the ethics, the way in which we are setting up this still posture. Is it with regard to non-harm and goodwill? These are the benchmarks. And the third process is then we begin practicing meditating, practicing mindfulness. And in that third step, of the process, there's more to talk about what happens once we close our eyes and begin meditating. All right. So I'm going to move through each one and just give a few words to that and fill it out for us. So the inner ethic of setting up, of opening up the body, of the preliminary, of setting the stage, means that we come into the present moment. Come into the present moment, and how's it going in there? What does it feel like? And it's useful for us to think about, like, meditation. Again, meditation happens on and off the cushion. We bring ethics with us on and off the cushion. So any time of the day, you could stop and check in and see how's it going in there. How might I actually create a little bit room, be a little kinder to myself, sort of reset, hit the reset button of right of that sense of care and consideration for our comfort and ease. So in this preliminary, what Bill and I invite you to do is to tune in to see how it feels right now, and through movement and breath, opening up the instrument of our meditation practice, which is the body. This is the wind instrument. And since many of us live in our heads most of the day, it behooves us to sort of come in and see what it feels like. How does it feel in there periodically through the day, and opening it up. And what you might consider is more formally, this is what I do before practice, is I move all of the joints of my body. All the joints that can move, I move them. I move them and breathe so that each of the joints, including my hands, you'll see me do this even through the meditation. I'll open my hands up. They get tight, they get stiff. I can feel that, the collecting of energy. Oh, just open it up. So this preliminary step is part of our meditation practice. Three-step process, part of our meditation practice. And we're tuning in with that sense of care and orienting toward non-harm. Feel where the tightness is, soften and release what's possible. In the second step, then we move into taking our seat. And we come into a posture that feels relatively comfortable for stillness. And let's say we're sitting cross-legged on the ground. We might notice that one knee is flying high in the air and the other one's resting down comfortably. Well, the knee that's flying high in the air, well, let me do this one. We stick a pillow. I'm going to pull this down a little bit. We stick a pillow under the knee so that the knee rests on something. The body releases tension through touch, through proprioception. It senses where it's located in space. Does it have terra firma underneath it? This is the terra firma for the knee. So if the knees are resting down on the ground, the body can naturally release tension. Now, another little cue would be to put a cushion under your bum. And if you feel like your body, your torso falls into a C shape, like this, then you put a pillow under your bum and you raise your pelvis up, and there the C goes away and the body naturally wants to relax long. It's effortless. And you feel for that height. That changes every day. Our bodies are different every single day throughout the whole day. What does it need to relax long in the field of gravity? Now, why is that helpful? Because that releases effort, least amount of effort. And it orients the body so that when it's aligned in the field of gravity, as it relaxes throughout the meditation, it relaxes into alignment. If we're off center, it will relax into a misaligned posture and create more stress on the body. So we want to do our best to orient it toward alignment. This is being kind. This is orienting toward non-harm and with an attitude of goodwill. Okay. The third area you want to pay attention to are the shoulders. So knees, hips, and then shoulders. And the hips and shoulders are what carry the weight, the burden of our bodies. And often as we get older, you might notice that your shoulders have crawled up your neck. That's true for most of us. We that old saying, we carry the weight of the world on our shoulders. Well, we indeed do. We do. And our shoulders creep up. As they creep up, they need explicit permission to relax down. So what would be helpful? What support might be helpful so that the shoulders aren't working during meditation? If we're sitting like this, they're working. If we're sitting anything like this with our shoulders still shrugged up, they're working. How can we let them relax down into their socket? And you might just consider playing around with putting a cushion or a pillow in front of you and just resting your arms on there and seeing if your shoulders might naturally want to relax down. The kindness. These little tricks I'm giving you, a dear teacher, Dharma teacher, Will Johnson, calls them physiological hacks. These are physiological hacks that we do to support the body and orient it toward meditation. Okay, those are the physiological hacks. And then what we do is as we take our seat, we set up the heart mind. Now, remember in Buddhist teachings, there aren't two words for the heart mind. There's only one, chitta, C-I-T-T-A in Pali. And the reason that the heart mind are together is that they're always together. They're always together. And we want to check as a kindness, check when we're taking our seat. Is there an attitude of goodwill and non-harm? Or how am I sitting in such a way that I'm actually causing undue stress? Or am I oh, even with a casual attitude taking the seat, a casual attitude is not going to necessarily notice when tension is present. But a caring, interested quality of attention is going to be very much interested in our well-being throughout the whole of the meditation practice. So we set it up that way. Set up the attitude of the heart, just check in, make sure it feels friendly and kind. And we very deliberately then tune into the mind, and we notice maybe the busyness of the mind, and we're going to set that aside. We're going to set that aside, or let that be like clouds floating through the sky. Why? Because for this time that we're setting aside to meditate, we're not going to follow those thoughts. We're saying, no, 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 not now. Those are for later. For now, we're going to learn how to come into a posture that's restful, a posture that feels healing, a posture that feels caring and kind and supportive and awake and awake. Right? So this is the taking of the seat. We set up the body, and this is what Buddha said. He said, sit down, cross-legged, spine erect, and set mindfulness to the fore. He gave very clear instructions for taking our seat. We do the preliminary, we take our seat, and now, okay, we're meditating. Meditating very nicely, set up a beautiful posture. And what starts to happen is, the body starts to feel achy and uncomfortable. And as we notice that, let's say the shoulders feel a little uncomfortable, we just make a little movement, just a little movement, sometimes micro movements, sometimes a little bigger, but just to hit the reset button, soften them up, let them let go of the stress, take a breath, and resettle right back into our posture. No fuss, no muss, but we're attending to the body as it naturally collects stress when it is holding the posture naturally, not your fault. Then we carry on in our meditation practice, and suddenly we start to notice that the mind is spinning out and in an upsetting thought, keeps going back to this upsetting thought again and again and again. And we start to notice that and say, it's important that we notice that thought, let it go, come back into the body, feel how the body was just holding that thought, and let the body support releasing whatever tension it collected from that thought. Just let it ripple through. The negative thoughts are going to happen. It's not your fault. The mind orients that way. It has a habit of going there, right? So we are learning how to break that habit. That is interrupting a harmful, stressful thought and coming back into something that feels more easeful and comfortable. Such a gift, such a gift. Okay, we continue meditating along, and then we notice that the mind starts to just kind of get a little floaty and drifty. Maybe it's just feeling good, and things kind of grow a little casual. Maybe there's a little dreamlike states, little fragments of this, that, and the other. We notice that. Notice that, let go of that, because actually, that's not leading toward less stress. That's actually over time going to lead toward more stress. That's not leading toward non-harm. That's not goodwill. That's just the mind proliferating as it normally does. It's lost the object and it's just kind of floating around. So we let go of that and we come back in, tether the breath to the body to the ground. We feel the little ripples of stress or whatever that's just from that kind of thinking, and we just allow that to ripple through and pass through the body. We come, and as it lets go, what starts to happen is that we reconstitute that initial posture of the holding environment. We reconstitute it just by letting go of those little ripples. It comes right back. There it is. Okay. And then we meditate a little further along, and we kind of start to notice that there's this in the back, like, that kind of like, there you go again, wandering off into this, that, and the other. You're not following the object. There you go. Come on back. Bring yourself back. how we start to notice the harshness with which we're speaking to ourselves most of the time in the background, right? Or it's just this kind of very casual, disinterested narration of what's happening. Neither of those are kind, And so we want to really bring forward the noticing, how are we speaking to ourselves? This is inner ethic. How are we speaking to ourselves? How are we bringing our attention back when the mind has wandered away? Can we bring our attention back with like, oh my darling, look what you just noticed. Good job. Come on back. Now come on back and let's breathe it all out and come back into something that feels more comfortable. How about we do that, right? With a kind voice, as if a dear friend, as if a wise elder were speaking to you. Now, that's not, for most of us, that's not how we normally speak to ourselves. We're kind of unkind, we're kind of rough. We want to learn the art of talking nicely to ourselves. This is the inner ethic. This is the ethic that we bring, that we offer toward ourselves on and off the cushion, but especially on the cushion. This is where we learn. It's our little petri dish for learning how to relate well to ourselves. And then learning how to relating well to others will come more easily. All right. So let me just do a little quick review, a little quick summary for you, and we'll do it in live as we go through the meditation. So we're cultivating the inner ethic, an inner rudder that tells us whether we're, orienting toward non-harm and goodwill, toward out here, toward others, but in here toward ourselves as well. To others is to myself as to others. On the cushion, it's inner ethic, it's ethic toward ourselves. We're turning that toward here. 3 steps, three-step process for beginning to meditate. There is the preliminary. There is the letting go of what you have just done and arriving to this moment and checking in, seeing how it is through movement and breath, opening up what is possible to open up, letting go of whatever tension is possible to let go of, and creating more room inside. This right there is a kindness. This is the ethic being applied, skillful means. Then step 2, we take our seat. We're setting up a still posture that is going to be comfortable enough that we can hang out there for half an hour or so and not cause too much stress on the body, right? And learn how to not cause too much stress on the mind. So we learn how to set up the body, putting supports where they need, perhaps under the knees, under the butt. We raise the butt so that we lengthen the spine. That supports wakefulness, supports balance, alignment, and less stress on the body. And then we put a support for our shoulders. See what our shoulders might need to soften and relax back down into their socket and feel like they have the breadth and the width to soften and widen. Step 3, now we can begin to meditate. Now we begin to meditate and follow. What are we following? We're letting go of the busyness of our mind, and we are following an experience and a feeling of comfort and ease in body, breath, heart, and mind. And what do we start to notice are the snags. We notice where the body gets tight, and we support it to release. We don't just notice. Noticing isn't enough. Awareness alone is not enough. We notice and release. And then we notice what's happening in the mind. When the mind gets harsh, critical, judgmental, goes negative. And we gently bring that, let go of those kinds of thoughts. We come back into the body and we let go of the stress in the body. When the mind wanders away, when it gets drifty and whatnot, we notice that that's going to lead to stress over time. We let go of that, come back into the body, same thing, release the stress in the body. And then the third thing that we notice is we notice how we're speaking to one another, to ourselves. Is it with a kind voice or with a harsh voice? Is it with an attitude of goodwill, with the spirit of generosity, or is it with finger wagging saying, little slap on the hand? No, 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 not like that. Notice that, put that aside, let that go, and then as if a dear friend, a wise elder were supporting us and guiding us. Okay? All right. So let's do it. Let's do it together. Okay. Let's now check in and see how it feels in real time. How does the body feel? Open it up. Say hello, perhaps, to all of the joints. Let the breathing be however the breathing wants to be, but often if you keep it full, keep the breath full as we move the body. Like we're tenderizing the organism, making the instrument pliable, being one with our instrument. You know, just so it feels a little more comfortable. Now we begin to take our seat, and if you're sitting on a chair or on a sofa, just see if if the back feels like it's elongated or needs a little lift, and if it does, put a cushion under your bum. If you're sitting on the floor, put a cushion under your bum likely, and see if the knees are touching, and if not, put a support under there. And then shoulders, find a position for the shoulders that will allow them to relax down. Once you've arrived there, pan that kind attention out and just sense the whole of the form as it's sitting here. Feel if it feels aligned, feels like it feels firmly settled on the ground, on the cushion. See if the head and neck needs to be pulled back so that it's aligned atop the spine. And now draw the attention inward, close the eyes, breathing in. Draw the attention into the interior. Maybe take a few deeper than usual inhalations and deeper than usual exhalations, and then let the breath find its own rhythm. We open up body, we open up breathing. The inner ethic of non-harm and goodwill. So feeling into that attitude, maybe adding a few drops of kindness and care. You may not feel particularly that way today, but imagine that a dear friend was sitting with you and was interested in your well-being right now, your comfort and ease, well-being. Give yourself that kind of attention, perfume the atmosphere. And then with kind eyes, looking at the mind and seeing if there's any busyness going on up there. And see if you can just let them be like clouds in the sky passing through the field of vision. No need to latch on to anything. We're just going to let them go and firmly place our attention on orienting toward comfort and ease for this next little while. In other words, letting go of stress and coming into ease. last few minutes of meditation, noticing and releasing any stressful thoughts, any tension in the body. Very deliberately feeling into the ease that's being experienced right now. Whatever feels comfortable or isn't giving you any trouble, notice that. Appreciate that. This is the result of ethical conduct toward the inner experience. And finally become aware of all of us sitting here with you and you sitting with us. Together, practicing non-harm and goodwill. It's a beautiful gift we offer ourselves and each other in a world that sorely needs it. We'll breathe and appreciate that. We're in this atmosphere together. This is feeding our hearts good food for the day, for our life. Thank you all for your practice.